Hello and welcome to Echoes of Elgin, timeless tales from the Elgin History Museum. I'm Rebecca Miller, museum educator at the Elgin History Museum, and your guide through Elgin's storied past. In each episode, we bring you captivating tales from our city's rich history, exploring the events, people, and places that have made Elgin what it is today. Whether you're a longtime resident, a history enthusiast, or just curious about local lore, this podcast is for you. Our echo today reaches us from July 27, 1997, when former Elgin City Councilman E.C. Mike Alft reminds us that watchmakers left a housing legacy in Elgin. Every house has a history beginning with the biographies of its builder and first occupants. Two old homes standing amid newer dwellings in the 600 block of Bent Street in Elgin are a legacy of watchmaking families who arrived in Elgin more than a century ago. Beginning in the 18th century, the English watch industry was centered around Coventry and the surrounding countryside. Skilled craftsmen would make a watch, then take it apart and distribute the parts to workers' homes to have them duplicated. When the parts were returned, they were hand-fitted and assembled. English watchmaking declined with the competition of cheaper watches made by machines in America, and many craftsmen left Coventry and came to Elgin to find jobs in the big watch factory along National Street. By the end of the 1880s, there were more than 24 men and women from Coventry at the Elgin benches. Among them were Joseph Burberry and Billy Morgan. Joseph Burberry, 1845 to 1931, and Sarah Ann Riley, 1846 to 1936, were married in Coventry in 1870. Joe began serving a 7-year apprenticeship in watchmaking at the age of 14. When he completed his training, he worked in his home for 4 watchmakers, finally confining his efforts to the pivoting escapements. Completing the 7-year apprenticeship in Coventry meant that Joe Burberry was entitled to wear the white apron and top hat, designating his craft. Thomas Perkins, who had been employed at the Elgin National Watch Company, had gone to Coventry to introduce American methods. There he met Joe Burberry and urged him to come to the United States. Joe arrived in Elgin in 1879. His wife and 4 daughters came the following year. 2 sons, Ernest and Lawrence, were born to the Burberrys in Elgin. All 6 children were raised in the 2-story house at 662 Bent Street, built in 1891, and all 6 were employed at the watch factory. The father and his sons had long careers as Elgin watchworkers. Joe didn't retire until 1926. Ernie was employed for 47 years, retiring in 1952. Larry, who started as an errand boy in 1906, became the factory superintendent before leaving on a pension 50 years later. Billy Morgan, 1858 to 1932, another Coventry watchmaker, arrived in Elgin in 1888 and retired from the Elgin National Watch Company after 40 years. He and his wife, Susan Cole, 1865 to 1929, were the parents of 8 children who were raised in the house at 676 Bent Street. Similar in design to that of the Burberrys, their neighbors from Coventry, the Morgan's house was built in 1893. 2 of the Morgan children also had especially long records of service at the watch factory. William L. Morgan was employed for 50 years, and his brother, Walter A. Morgan, for 43 years. The Morgans were members of the Church of England and joined the local Episcopal Church of the Redeemer. The Burberrys adheres to a dissenting faith that now worships in the Park Manor Bible Chapel. There are many homes of Coventry people still standing in Elgin, and there is one home in Coventry, England, at 6 Beaumont Crescent, Holyhead Road, that was called Elgin. It was occupied by Herbert E. Crawley, who was born in Elgin in 1882, the son of John Cawley, a watchworker from Coventry, and his wife Elizabeth. The Cawleys had later returned to Coventry with one son, Herbert, who grew up hearing stories about the city in Illinois that made watches. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Elgin's history. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a review wherever you listen. For more fascinating stories and updates, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or visit our website at www.elginhistory.org. Thank you for listening, and remember, history lives on in the echoes of Elgin.